Auto Insurance. Detroit was looking for an 8-game win streak. The first time since 1934 they would have hit that mark. They did it. 52-6 is the final. Detroit was not looking to surpass their total net yards in franchise history in a single game. They did it today with 644. Total first downs, 38. Also most in franchise history. And one last one for you. Margin of win, 46 points. That is the most in franchise history. And all of those things were done here today. Alongside the Super Bowl champ, Lomas Brown, I'm Dannie Rogers. Thanks so much for tuning in to a historical day set by these Detroit Lions. Coming into this week, offense, they wanted to pull their own weight, according to offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Lomas, they did a little bit more than that today.
Oh, my goodness. They pulled their weight and somebody else's weight. It was awesome, Danny, to see. And like you said, Ben Johnson, he was upset after the last game. He thought the offense didn't help out special teams or the defensive side of the ball. And I know, as a player, I know that had to be a tough meeting that those guys were in this whole week leading up to this. But they came out, they executed, they did a great job of putting points on the board when they had the opportunity. And they dominated the Jacksonville team, which they were supposed to do at home today, Danny.
At one point, Jacksonville had as many first downs as Detroit did touchdowns. At one point, they were tied at 3 apiece. Time of possession, Detroit stole that away from the Jags. At halftime, you heard Doug Peterson say, we need to keep Detroit's offense off the field. That defense could not do that today against these Detroit Lions. First downs, 38-10 when you look at the final numbers. Passing yards for Jared Goff, 449. That somehow is not his single game record. He's thrown for over 500 yards before, but 4 TDs. He has a bounce back game after throwing 5 INTs last week, Lomas.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about Jared. Again, Danny, we always talk about it. It doesn't matter up in the score, down in the score, tied in the score. Jared's going to stay the same, and he did that today. He was magnificent today. He was putting the ball where he had to put it at for those guys. I mean, it was just a thing of beauty just to watch our offense go out there and execute that the way they did. So again, Ben Johnson, that whole offensive staff have to be happy about what happened out here today on that field.
This is a run-first team, 196 rushing yards on the day. I know that sounds good to head coach Dan Campbell, but let's make sure it sounds great. Okay. Let's hear from the head coach here.
It was really the focus above anything else was about our effort. You know, just finishing, man. And man, I want you to be able to turn the tape on and your teammate to watch the play that you're doing and say, man, that guy is finishing for me. Man, I trust that guy. And that was kind of the message is, man, finish for the guy next to you and give everything you've got. And if we can all look at each other tomorrow in the eyes and say, I gave you what I had, that's always going to be a good thing. And they did that.
Can you talk about how you make your mind up, Dan, about when to take key players out? You know, you're up 35-6, you're up 42-6, Jared's still in there, some other key offensive guys are in there. How do you weigh injury versus, you know?
There's nothing easy about it. This is a weird, this is another one of those bizarre things that you're running into. Normally this doesn't happen, and this is like the 3rd time this has come up this season, which, it's a good problem to have. But I think so much. There's a number of things. And I think you want to know that you finish on a good note. You found a rhythm, you keep the rhythm. Okay, now the time says, let's get them out. What's hard is you're playing pretty good, and then you take this dip, and then it starts to taste bad. Okay, now we pull them out because we don't get anybody hurt, and then does that bleed into the next week? And you're playing. So some of those come in, and I think you just got to feel it out. And that last one, I told those guys, after the last touchdown we had, I don't know what it was, 13 minutes left, let's get them out. We played pretty good. We finished on a high note, touchdown. Defensively, we got to stop, and we started pulling guys. And so you got to make the most of it. And there again, I mean, even at the end, okay, you pull St. Brown out. We started to lose, A-Rob gets hurt, but he's back. We didn't want to use Brock in there. We had to use Brock again, and so you start playing this. This is, you gotta do what you got to do to finish the game out. And you can only worry so much about it. And even there, it's like you'd love to get Sewell out, but we only had 3 linemen at the game in reserve. And, you take out your oldest guys, your most veteran guys, or the guys who have, maybe are dinged up a little bit, but you do the best you can with it.
Dan, Ben said earlier this week he wanted the Dolphins to get back to its dominant ways, confident they could get there. I mean, were you at the point where you're running out of game balls to hand out in that room? Is it safe to say they're back to the dominant ways?
Yeah, I would say that, look, everybody on offense is going to get a game ball for that. I mean, that was, you get over 600 yards of offense, and you're whatever that was, 5 of 5 in the red zone. Third down was outstanding. I don't know how many explosives we had, but we had a ton. And then the first downs, 30-something first downs. I mean, that's a collective effort. That takes a lot of guys to be able to do that. But we have, we got power up front, with our old-line, and we got some serious juice in the backfield and in the perimeter, and we got the right balance of, electricity and just whatever you want to call it, man. Sledgehammer. I don't know.
What about the defense? Though, too? 6 points.
Yeah.
I know they were
170 yards too, only giving up. Got our takeaway. We were talking about getting our takeaway. Kirby got us one, which is great, man. That kind of finished it out for us. Stopped the run. And so I'm telling you, this is a collective effort. Everybody did their job, and when you're able to, get a stop on defense, score 7, get another stop, score 7, you put a tremendous amount of pressure on the opponent, and you put them in a place they don't want to be in. That's hard, It's hard. Let me say this too. Let me go back to that, because here's what I want to. Man, I do not want to let the fear of injury take away from our identity. That'll always be most important to me. More so, the minute you start worrying about injuries, that's when bad things happen. So that's kind of. I'll finish with that one. It was on my mind. Yeah.
You mentioned this is kind of rare. I mean, third time really you played backups for essentially a quarter in the regular season. You guys are beating teams and scoring points at a kind of unprecedented pace, at least around here. When you look at some of the best offenses in NFL history, I don't know who you consider that, the greatest show on turf or whatever. Can you put some historical perspective to this team? Like, do you think this offense is that good?
I think we have that ability. I really do. I think we have that ability. We have, to me, we have everything that we need to be potent. And like I say, I feel like we're well-rounded. When you're able to run the ball with the big boys up front, you got a hammer like David, and you got electricity with Gibbs, and you got J-Mo on the perimeter, and then you've got our rock, St. Brown, who, just continues to make plays. You put him anywhere you want to put him, and you need it, he's got it. And then running the whole show is Goff. I think we're, I think we can be dangerous. We have that ability. Because really, we can play the game any way we need to. As long as we're on our stuff, we're on our game, and we're locked in, and we're finishing, and we're, we can do that.
And what's got you, the times that you haven't been able to do that, what sort of got you off that, mark where you haven't been able to do that? You've done it so many times. Is there a secret sauce to this, I guess, that you can?
No, look, I think sometimes it can come up to matchups. You do the best you can with the matchups you have, right? And you get in a bad spot with somebody on third down, and all of a sudden they get pressure on the quarterback, or we thought this guy could beat press. He got hemmed up. It's an incompletion, or Goff just maybe happened to miss it, which doesn't happen much. And then you had to punt it, and then what happened did we give up a touchdown on defense? You get in one of those where all of a sudden you're down, and things happen in this league. They do. Or what happened last week with we get a ball batted. It's an interception. So those things are always going to be there. It's about overcoming them. But when we do things right, and everybody's doing their job and doing it at the highest level they can do it, and I'm talking about coaches and players, I think we're difficult to stop collectively. Offense, defense, special teams. I think we're a tough team.
And you said coming out that we played some of our best football to date. Can you clarify that? Would you go so far to say this is the best performance you've seen from your team since you've been?
Yeah, probably so. For this year, for sure.
What about the total of your time here?
It's tough to say. I don't know what it was. We played pretty good 2 years ago against Jacksonville here. I don't know what that was, but you know. But yeah, I mean, probably top to bottom, this is probably the best game. I mean, offense, defense, special teams, everything. That was pretty good, man. We did what we needed to do on both sides of the ball.
What about Alex?
No, he's not. Looks like he broke the forearm, so he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Thanks, guys. We'll have Jared in.
Thank you, Dan.
Being the starting quarterback for the Lions, moving out here to Detroit, what's the first thing you learned about car insurance?
Yeah, I learned it's a challenge, and I'm curious what brought you to Michigan.
We were a big part of the new reform laws that were passed in 2019, went into effect in 2021. So it gave us an opportunity to give affordable rates to people in Michigan that they've been starving for years.
Amazing. Anything else?
Yeah, go Lions.
Cure Auto Insurance. Drive well.
Detroit Lions Live is brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Log on to cure.com to see how you can save. Running back David Montgomery got things going today on the scoring end. He'd end up with 2 TDs on this one. I love that we know when it's a Montgomery drive and when it's a Jahmyr Gibbs drive because they will take that thing the whole field down, and you know they're probably going to score when they do it too.
Without a doubt. I mean, these two guys, man, Danny, okay, I think we got the best safety tandem in the league, and we might have the best running back
just
tandem
say it,
in the
Lomas.
league. Okay, we do have the best running back tandem in this league. It's exciting when these guys get out on the field, and like you say, Danny, either one of these guys could score, and they can score from distance. So David pounds the rock. Jahmyr, get him out on the corner and let him do what he does. So it's just so great to see how they work together and how they work this offense too.
Montgomery's teammate, Jahmyr Gibbs, did score from distance today, and I want to put that 54-yard receiving catch in there too. He reached almost 22 miles per hour on that catch when he finally got free to the open field. Lomas.
I think between him and J-Mo, those guys, they run so fast, they look slow. They look like they're in slow motion out there, but man, how they eat up ground, how they eat up grass, it's just unbelievable. And Ben Johnson just does a great job of letting these guys get out in space, letting these guys catch the ball and do what they do, yak yards after the catch.
This was Gibbs' 9th consecutive game with a rush of at least 15 yards. The last time a Lion did that, it was Barry.
The little big
Barry,
fella.
97
Little
season.
big fella.
Incredible. Now moving on to Amon-Ra St. Brown. This was his 8th consecutive game with a touchdown. That is the second most in NFL history. So he needs 1 tutty next week against the Colts to break that record, Lomas.
I keep telling you how it's just unbelievable. I played with the great Herman Moore. I watched the great Calvin Johnson here, but what Amon-Ra is doing is just unbelievable. He's not breaking franchise records. He's breaking NFL records that have stood here for years and years. And it's so great to see. And the chemistry between him and Jared Goff, it's just unbelievable. That big third down play heading down that way, Danny, he threw the ball before Amon-Ra came out of his break. And what that is, that's practice, that's knowing the guy, that's anticipating where he's going to be at, and that's delivering.
That's a lot of trust. Jared Goff has also built up a lot of trust with wide receiver Jameson Williams.
Yes.
J-Mo recorded his 4th touchdown on the season. 3 of his 4 receiving touchdowns this season have gone for 50-plus yards. That is what he does. He catches the long ball, and he can score from anywhere on the field.
He scares defenses. He really does. When the defensive coordinator goes in and break down the Lions, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they have to talk about, I guess they talk about J-Mo in the next second or third breath, because this guy can change a game. One play, he is so explosive, and anytime you get explosive plays in the NFL, it's to the detriment of the defense. This guy's going 50 yards with catches, man, so it's just such a great luxury to have him, and believe me, he opens it up for Amon-Ra underneath. So those guys complement each other very, very well.
Jameson Williams' 64-yard touchdown catch is our play of the game. It came in the 3rd quarter with just under 13 minutes to go. That was his first touchdown since October 13th against the Dallas Cowboys. So we've been waiting a whole month to see this guy in the end zone.
Yeah, and Danny, it wasn't a long pass. You would think it would be a long 50-yard pass. It was just a short pass, and he just took it the distance. And when you got speed, world-class speed the way J-Mo has, I mean, you can do things like that. So, man, just give the guy an opportunity, and he's going to turn it into a big play.
Speaking of third quarter touchdowns, Brock Wright, his touchdown
Who?
put this team up 42-6. Brock Wright!
Right.
That's an ode to our Dan Miller, of course. That was a big score for Brock Wright, who continues to be a tight end that this team can lean on. But you know what? He's usually blocking.
Yeah.
I'm glad they can get him some touchdowns as a little gift.
He deserves it, Danny, because like you said, he's doing the dirty work. He's the guy that does most of the blocking on run plays for us. But it's always good when you can reward guys that go in there and that get dirty. Those guys that get gritty and go in there and do the hard things that need to be done. So yes, Ben Johnson, please reward this guy, and you did it today. I love me some Brock Wright, love the Brock Wright family too.
The Detroit Lions fan base loves their quarterback, Jared Goff.
Oh.
Multiple Jared Goff chants here today, and for really good reason. Goff is still the #2 quarterback in completion percentage in the NFL. That was his first 400 passing yard game of the season. Like I mentioned, it is not his career high. He's thrown for over 500 yards in a single game, but gritty Goff.
Yes.
I'm saying that because he had 4 carries for 21 yards, and 2 of those were for first downs. He loves impacting the game, even if it's with his own feet.
Danny, do you think we might see a RPO coming about? Do you think Ben Johnson might run a run option pass with Jared Goff? He's showing those wheels off. But, man, Jared, I'm telling you, at the level he's playing at right now, and like you say, he's doing it with his arm, but he's also doing it with his legs, avoiding sacks, buying time, getting the ball downfield. So, man, he's playing at the MVP level. A lot of people say, oh, after those 5 INTs, he's not in the race. After a performance like today, he's right back in this race.
That's why he's our player of the game. Get off Twitter. Get off X. We don't want to hear it. They were saying definitively that he had taken himself out of the MVP race last week. Half those weren't even real INTs. We agreed to disagree on some things. He threw for 82% today, 412 passing yards, 4 TDs from Jared Goff. He had 5 different scorers in this game. What does that say about how he can dish the ball out to a bunch of different guys?
And that's the great thing, and I know that's what his teammates have to love about him. He's going to spread the love. Jared is going to get that ball around. You just can't concentrate on one guy on our offensive side of the ball because we have so many weapons that he can get the ball to, and he does such a great job of spreading the wealth. He's going to get, you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown. Oh, what about you get one over there? He's just passing out touchdowns, Danny. Passing them out.
Oh, my. I love it. Yeah, 21 rushing yards on the day. That is a dual threat quarterback. That's a mobile quarterback. That is gritty Goff. And he is standing by at the podium now. Let's hear from QB1.
Yeah, we've got that capability, certainly. We got to do it for another, I don't know how many games are left in the year now, 8, 9 in this regular season. But, yeah, we got some work to do still. And yeah, but we've certainly got that capability. I think that's kind of been something we've talked about in the offseason is history and how great we can be, and we know the group we have. We know what our capabilities are, and today was a good example of that.
You ever been part of something like this? 7 straight touchdowns?
I've been on the other side of that, but no, I don't know if I've done it on offense 7 straight. No.
What is that feeling like when just everything seems to be working?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We were moving the ball pretty good. I thought our run game was really good. Our pass game obviously was pretty good too, and everything's working. It felt as if Ben could kind of call anything, and we were going to make it work, and our guys showed up today.
Jared, with all the pieces out there, do you sometimes feel like an orchestra conductor? Like you literally, it seems like you could go any which way you want, and then you feel that way?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge every week is really trying to get everyone involved and make sure that we're spreading the ball around. And I'm not really conscious of it during the game, but throughout the week of practice, you're thinking about it. And then once the game starts, I've said it before, I'm kind of just playing point guard, trying to find the open guy, get it to him. We threw a check down to Gibbs that goes for 53. It's a luxury to have those 2 guys in the backfield that when 1, 2, and 3 down the field are covered, you go down to them, and it's usually good things are happening.
Can you speak to your mindset this week? You talked last week, you said, after coming off a 5 interception game, you have to dig deep. Your mindset entering this weekend, coming right, bouncing back with a game like this.
Yeah.
Can you speak about that this week?
Yeah, last week was tough, but I was confident in the way I played and what I knew had happened and what went wrong and what to fix and all the things. And so I wasn't dwelling on it. I knew I had to come out today and pick up where I left off and then just keep on going. And those guys rallied behind me and distributed to them as well as I could.
We talked to Dan just a minute ago about when in a game like this it kind of gets out of reach. When's the right time to take out your star players, top players?
Yeah.
How do you look at that? I mean, you just wait until he calls you, never think about it, you know?
Yeah, I don't think about it, nor do I really think there is a right or a wrong answer to that. You know, it's quite the luxury to have in the NFL to be able to take out players ever. So if we're able to do that, great. If we don't, great. We don't care.
When he took you out, did you still want to go back in?
I was good. I'll play if he wants me to. If we're up by 45 or whatever we were, I'm good to take a rest and let Hendon go.
You really found Saint a lot early. Was that just a matchup that you liked coming into this one, or is it just a case of he's always open?
He's just that guy, man. I think we did see some, possibilities to kind of recalibrate ourselves this week and get back on the same page where we want to be, and he's certainly a big part of that. And felt like towards the end there we could kind of call anything, and he was going to get himself open, and he came in this week ready to go, and it showed up.
Did you get a sense, Ben Johnson talked about earlier this week that he wanted to get back to dominance, and did you get a sense this was coming?
Yeah, we wanted to. Yeah, you never know. I mean, we that was our intent this week, was to, like I said, recalibrate and get back to who we know we can be. I think, even going back all the way to Tennessee, like, we really didn't have many opportunities. I know we won by a lot of points, but there wasn't opportunities for longer drives there. And then you go to Green Bay, and the weather kind of, stymies you in some ways. And then obviously last week what happened. So we kind of like, all right, like, we need to get back to what we do, long drives, long, big, explosive plays. And it was certainly the intent this week.
Jared, you obviously got unscrambled a few times, but
yeah, how about that?
Within the pocket, though, are you feeling the movement, the pressure as well as any point in your career, just the way you're kind of moving within the pocket to buy an extra second to get the ball down the field?
Yeah, I think so. And our guys are doing just such a great job protecting that, there isn't often times where I do need to move. So when it happens, it's very rare, and those feelings are very different when it's a clean pocket and when there's some pressure. I can tell the difference at this point with the type of O-line we have.
With an offensive like this, you guys had no let-up out there. Is there a certain ruthlessness you have to have when you have so many offensive weapons? You just have to continue to pound it and pound it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the reality was that they're a team that has less wins than us, and we could have played down to our competition in some ways, and we, not to disrespect them, they're a hell of a squad, but we wanted to play to our standard, nameless, faceless opponent, and that's not just them, that's every week. And I think we wanted to come out and stay on the gas the whole game, no matter what happened. And if it had been a closer game, we still would have stayed on the gas. But we talked about it all week, holding our standard. What is our standard? And exceeding it and trying to push ourselves. And so regardless of our opponent, we did want to do that this week.
Your passing numbers were incredible. The rushing ability. If Jameer is Sonic and David is Knuckles, what does that make you? Are you Tails?
I don't know enough about the Sonic world to know who the third character would be. I'll let you decide, Brad. You can come up with somebody.
You guys, just talking about not playing out of the level of your opponent. You guys have rarely done that over the last couple of years. I guess what do you attribute to always being ready and being able to actually carry out that game?
Yeah, I think just like the internal messaging, like I was just talking about, being intentional about knowing, like, all right, guys, like, our team is really good and we got a chance to go win this game, but not if we don't, hold our standard. It's human nature sometimes to do that, to play down a little bit, and we got to be intentional about it. Our team's dang good, and no matter who we play, we got to raise our level, raise our standard, and I think we talked about too, like, at this point of the season, you see teams, you're kind of in that middle zone right before that playoff push comes. It's like, who do we want to say we are during the hard time? This is kind of the dog days, those weeks before those last 4 or 5 games post-Thanksgiving. Who do we say we are? Are we that team we think we are? And let's go prove it.
The hook and ladder is starting to feel like a normal play. What goes into the level of comfort that goes into a play like that?
Yeah, we ran it a few times in practice, and it looked good. And once it looks good, Ben's comfortable with it, and we're all comfortable with it. And it becomes pretty effortless at that point to make it work. But there was more to be had on that one, unfortunately. But we executed pretty well.
Can you walk me through just a couple of your touchdowns? The one to Brock looked like he was your third or fourth option, and the first one to Amon-Ra, maybe Jamo took 2 defenders, if I'm remembering that right. So it's sort of an example of what you're talking about, of having all these weapons and everything working together, and kind of how one player?
Sure. Yeah, I think the best way to, exactly what you're saying. Like, if I get to the third or fourth in the progression, it's a good player. And that's not the case everywhere. And I don't take that for granted. It is something that I have a luxury to do with the skill players we have, and the O-line being able to protect long enough for me to get to the third and fourth progression. It's often a good player that can do something with the ball.
And one to Brock, did you see on
Saint, great game. Is that the best catch you've ever made?
Actually, there was one better.
When? The Chicago game?
Minnesota?
No, getting Cure Auto Insurance.
Are you for real?
Seriously, when I got here in Michigan, car insurance was the worst. But saving up to 40% by switching to Cure was my best catch.
Cure Auto Insurance. Drive well.
Detroit Lions Live is brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Log on to cure.com to see how you can save. It was the very highly anticipated debut of defensive end Zadarius Smith today for the Detroit Lions. Lions acquired him back on trade deadline day from the Cleveland Browns because they needed to beef up that edge rush game, and they did it. Smith, 5 sacks on the season. He has another one in his Ford Field debut here for the Lions.
I loved how he came out for the intro. I mean, got everybody fired up. You could tell the fans were excited to see him, excited about this addition to our team, and he didn't fail us. He got in there, and he didn't play a lot of snaps, Danny, but he had effective snaps while he was in there. I was just watching him just to see how he would occupy some of those linemen, how he could free up other linemen to have success against them. So he's everything that we need, and he's only going to continue to get better and better and better. I think today they had him on a snap count today, but we're going to let him loose now. Get ready for him. He's coming.
If these Jags happen to get past the first level, they were promptly greeted by linebacker Jack Campbell, who led all Detroit defenders in tackles. I spoke with Campbell this week. He told me why he's playing at such a high level, and he is a top 10 linebacker in the NFL, is because he wants to raise the standard here in Detroit with every play. That's really difficult to do considering the standard already, Lomas.
You're exactly right. When you talk about guys, I mean, the standard here, but think about guys in this history, guys like Chris Spielman. That was a great linebacker for us, and that's what Jack Campbell is trying to do. And Danny, the thing I see with Jack is the game has slowed down for him. As a rookie, the game moves at 1,000 miles an hour, but in his second year, things have slowed down. You can see him reading plays more, dissecting them, and then he's attacking these plays. So he's playing at a high level, and that's what we're going to need, unfortunately, Danny, if the news that you'll probably break down a little later isn't good about Alex.
We'll get to it right now. Alex Anzalone, per head coach in his presser, says that he is out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken forearm. You do not want to hear about Anzalone wears the green dot. That means the green dot goes to Jack Campbell, and that means that is the third linebacker to be put on, well, not news yet, but Anzalone will be put on IR because he's out 6 to 8 weeks. We'll get that news confirmed Monday. But that was the deepest unit coming into this season, and it has taken some hits.
It really has, Danny, and the most important thing you said, Alex wore the green dot. So what that does now, that puts a little bit more on Jack Campbell's plate. He's still a young guy, and you don't want to overload these guys with a lot of information, but he's going to have to wear that green dot unless they decide to put it on someone else. It's going to be a lot on his plate. I think the young man can handle it. He seemed like he's handled everything else. This would just be another challenge for Jack Campbell.
Hey, he was a first-round pick for a reason. Brian Branch continues to lead the best safety tandem in the NFL. 7 total tackles here today. When he comes up and makes hits, and his hit on Brian Thomas, that was a big one.
Danny, don't call those tackles. You got to call those destroyers, because he comes up with bad intentions when he comes to tackle a guy. It's just unbelievable how this guy throws his body out there and doesn't care. And to me, I call him the enforcer. He is the enforcer on our defensive side of the ball. When he's into the game, when he comes up and makes those big hits like that, the rest of those guys feed off of that. So you're right. one half of the best safety tandem in the NFL, Brian Branch.
The other half is Kirby
That's
Joseph.
right.
He just turned 24 years old this past Wednesday. He is now the sole leader of interceptions in the NFL with 7. I asked him this week, are you going to get paid next, Kirby? And he didn't say anything, but he did giggle very, very loud, and he gave me a big smile. That is Kirby Joseph for you. An interception here today, 3 total tackles. He was making plays up at the line of scrimmage. It looked great.
I mean, I was surprised by that. I mean, I knew Kirby could come up and support the run, but he came up with bad intentions today. And you can't throw anything deep. Don't try to throw anything deep past him because he covers the field like no other safety's been covering the field in this league. You can't get in the end zone with Kirby there. He's just all over the place. And again, he's the other half of the best safety tandem in the NFL. We putting it out there, Danny, right now.
Those 2 players are neck and neck in terms of their overall rating. Brian Branch had a higher rating coming into today, and Kirby's like, I'm going to use that for a little extra motivation. Kirby Joseph spoke with in-stadium host Anthony Bellino post-game. Let's hear what they had to talk about.
Our fans, we're down to the field right now with the NFL's leader in interceptions this season, 31, Kirby Joseph. Kirby, what'd you see on that pick?
I just saw the quarterback staring out a route, so I just went out there and made a play.
How's it feel to know that you are the league's leader right now in interceptions?
I mean, it's just everything. Like, I worked so hard for this, so just to come out here and put it and show my work ethic and just everything, you know?
Finally back home, you guys had 4 road games in the last 5. You get home, you put on a performance, you beat Jacksonville 52-6 in front of this crowd. What was that like?
I mean, it just shows that, man, we fight through adversity and what we are coming to do with this organization, man. We had to turn it around, and we just, focus on the next game and on our way to a Super Bowl.
That's number 31, Kirby Joseph. Kirby, thank you so much.
Hey, love y'all, One Pride, man. Hey, it's Super out here, man. Appreciate y'all for coming out. Let's go!
We're going to have a little media catch up with Kirby. Every week, he tries to steal a reporter's mic, and they stand their guard. And I love that. Kirby Joseph, you're one of a kind.
He is.
Never change. That was fantastic. I'll try to grab your mic every time you talk.
Give that back, man.
Yeah.
He is awesome, man. Every time I see Kirby, a big smile comes across my face because he's just that type of guy, man. He makes you want to smile. He makes you feel good about yourself. So kudos to Kirby Joseph.
Yep, never change, and happy birthday to the Scorpio
That's right, happy
King.
birthday. Yeah.
Let's take a look around the league with some scores. I know NFC North people were tuned in to a very special 20-19 Green Bay over Chicago. We looked up what was potentially the Bears winning field goal. It was blocked by a finger on the Packers.
Man, we can't count on these Bears for anything, can we,
Do something,
Danny?
Bears.
Please.
Well, they did score their first touchdown in 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
They did a little bit of things. LA Rams just edging out Patriots there, and then New Orleans, I believe, that's their 4th win on the season?
Yes.
That's a big one. Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Lamar Jackson. Pittsburgh is his Achilles heel, and it will never change. That is incredible.
Wow.
That's Mike Tomlin's doing some special
stuff.
And
holding them, they average about 20, 30 points a game. So to hold them to 16, their defense did a great job.
That's a big one.
Yep.
And then you look at that Colts-Jets score, 28-27. That's a close one. And these Detroit Lions are going to take on those Colts in Indy next week. Hopefully not everyone goes and eats some shrimp cocktail and gets a lot of heartburn from Harry and Izzy's from St. Elmo's, because I know that's what I'm going to be doing. Colts are on the clock next week. It's a 1 p.m. kick. Detroit, they prove that they can play at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
It's not just all the primetime games.
What did the coach say? Coach say 1, 8, 9.
4?
We could play in the asphalt parking lot. We could play on dirt. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with these Lions.
The Colts handed the reins over to Joe Flacco, rather. They gave them right back to Anthony Richardson. So we will see a young QB doing some stuff. What do you anticipate from Richardson?
Well, to be honest with you, I would rather see Anthony Richardson than a Joe Flacco, because the guy has done that, seen everything. I think Anthony Richardson is still a young guy, still learning. So against our defense, we want to give him some hard lessons, Danny. We want to take him to school.
Mhm.
We're the teachers, he's the student.
Well, they're going to have to try to take him to school. He had over 300 scrimmage yards today and 2 rushing touchdowns from
did?
Richardson.
Oh,
Fun
okay.
fact.
Oh,
Well, they got their hands full with a mobile quarterback. Can Detroit defense step up? Well, we're gonna find out.
Another challenge.
Yep, it's another great challenge. Lomas, what is your final takeaway from this 42-6 beat down on the Jags? Lions, 8-game win streak for the first time since 34.
Wow. Danny, we did what we were supposed to do. This team was inferior to us. This team, their head coach is on the hot seat. Just a lot of things going on bad in Jacksonville. What you do if you're a good team, if you're a Super Bowl bound team, you beat the teams that you're supposed to, and you beat them handily. That's what the Lions did out here today. So again, kudos to the coaching staff, kudos to those players, and it was just great to see them get back out there, execute after a long week. It was a hard week for those guys because they didn't play well, but I love to see the way they responded. Great job today, guys.
Detroit Lions responded with back-to-back games at Ford Field with 49-plus points. That is the first time they have ever done that in franchise history. And now Detroit, they are headed on the road to take on those Colts. Like we mentioned, 1 p.m. kick inside Lucas Oil Stadium. They are going to get Anthony Richardson. They're going to try to get his best shot, but Detroit is going to try to improve to 10-1 on the season with everything in front of them, including a #1 seed in the NFC.
That sounds so good.
That
doesn't it,
sounds
BFF?
great. For Lomas Brown, I'm Dannie Rogers. We'll see you on the road in Indy.